So what's keeping you awake tonight? Now, about 20 years ago, I was working at a mall in the suburban Portland area when one of my old high school classmates happened to walk into my shop. Now, we hadn't seen each other for a few years, so naturally after chatting for a few minutes, she asked me if I'd heard anything about another one of our classmates. Now, not having any context at all of what she was implying, I had to start with the guesswork. Was she dead? If she wasn't deceased, had she been horribly disfigured in some sort of accident? Did she end up in the Guinness Book of World Records for symmetrically stacking golf balls and did she end up a fry cook on Venus? What? At that point, my friend starts looking around the store to make sure nobody is within earshot, and because I have never forgotten what she said or how she said it, I'm quoting her here directly. Quote, "She's a lesbian." End quote. Now, to this day, I don't know what stands out to me more. The fact that I laughed out loud so hard at what my friend said, or the idea that I was not stunned by a revelation that somebody I had known since the 9th grade turned out to have been gay. But the fact is, I wasn't stunned. Because I didn't care. I didn't care because it never mattered finding out who in my life was gay or straight. And even if it were my business, who the heck am I to be telling another human being that who they choose to love is going to determine whether they're socially acceptable or not? I am a proud and unashamed heterosexual male who grew up in the Boston Catholic Church. I have been judged and criticized for a whole lot of things in my life, so I have never seen any benefit in being that superficially judgmental in kind to other people. Which is why I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw the news that the people of Ireland decided they could be tolerant of gay marriage too and became the 20th nation to legalize it. Now, given the long-standing religious influence in all facets of Irish society, this is truly a landmark decision, and the amazing thing is that it didn't just skirt by. According to the New York Times, it passed with 62% of the vote, with 60% of the 3.2 million eligible voters casting a ballot. By comparison, that's as much as the average American voter turnout for presidential elections, going all the way back to 1952. Of course, within hours of making the decision, a lot of socio-political and religious groups who are against both homosexuality and gay marriage started voicing their disdain that a country that had such strong ties to the church could go and make such a counterintuitive decision. Which is precisely what makes this a really big deal. Because until 1993, it had been a punishable crime for any Irish citizen to identify themselves as homosexual. And even then, when it was revoked, I'm sure there was a whole lot of social stigma that was still connected to anybody who was willing to come out. If you break it down, what's driven the change in Ireland is the same thing that is driving the social and political change here in the United States. Millennials and even Gen Xers my age are using their voting power to spur that change on because we grew up learning how to be tolerant of gays and lesbians despite the traditional fears of our parents or even our grandparents that doing so would somehow bring about the end of the world. Look, the bottom line is that if you take an honest look at our history, both as a culture and as a species, you're going to find a whole lot of examples of things that we've done to one another that by all intents and purposes should have brought about the end of the world. Allowing people to make a socially and legally binding commitment to someone they love, be they male or female, is not one of them. Now, I'd like to think that if the Irish are able to make that distinction despite 1,000 years of religious tradition and strife under their belt, there is no reason at all why we as Americans can't too. So congratulations to Ireland on reminding us that it is indeed possible to use the democratic process to achieve true and lasting social progress. Because as a friend of mine always told me, progress, no matter how small, is never a bad thing. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Get some sleep. Sweet dreams when you get there.